It's June 1941, in Washington, D.C. President Franklin Roosevelt receives a visit from a young courier from G2, the intelligence arm of the Army, with a complete dossier on Operation Rebirth as requested. The President reads about the test subject of this top-secret project, Steve Rogers, a young man born and raised in the Lower East Side of New York City. Steve spent much of his youth trying to help his family make ends meet during the Depression. His father died when he was still a child, and his mother had to struggle just to keep them both fed up. Despite their deprivation, Steve kept up with his schooling, becoming a voracious reader and having a natural talent for art. As the Depression wore on, Sarah Rogers taxed herself to the limit to provide for her son, but eventually this hardship took its toll, and as Steve entered his late teens, his mother passed on. Now on his own, young Rogers manages to survive with a simple job, and one day, at the movies, he watches a newsreel footage of the Nazi war machine in its relentless march across a war-torn Europe. He finds himself inspired to enlist in the army, but as he takes his physical tests for admission, the doctor finds him too frail for military service. This conversation is overheard by General Phillips, who intervenes and asks Steve if he's serious about wanting to be part of the big picture, to which he answers he'll do anything to be able to help. In Steve Rogers, General Phillips had found the ideal test subject for Operation Rebirth, and so, within minutes, Rogers was sent on a plane to Washington, where he was taken to a secret lab secluded behind a shop. He is welcomed by Dr. Anderson, who introduces him to the head scientist on this project, Dr. Abraham Erskine. Dr. Anderson warns Steve that the experiment might kill him, but he is willing to face those consequences, and so, over the next weeks, he's put through a series of tests. Finally, the day comes when Steve is injected with the first dose of the serum, and then he is led to the main laboratory to take the second dose in oral form, with General Phillips, Undersecretary Sims, and a man identified as Special Agent Clemson in attendance. Steve drinks the serum as Dr. Erskine bombards him with potent Vita rays. He struggles with the effects of the serum as he feels his body change until it's finally done, and he emerges as a new man, much larger and much stronger. As Steve relishes in the results, Erskine hopes to use the serum to wipe out disease and infirmity in the world, but then, amidst the success, the man identified as the Special Agent Clemson jumps up with a gun and starts to shoot at Steve and Erskine. Erskine is caught in the gunfire and dies in Steve's arms. Steve uses his new powers to catch and subdue the shooter, and vows to dedicate himself to the cause of freedom and to destroy the enemies of liberty. The supposed Agent Clemson, who's later identified as Nazi assassin Heinz Kruger, tries to free himself of the rubble and dies electrocuted. President Roosevelt finishes revision of Operation Rebirth, concluding that the super soldier serum worked, with Rogers being living proof of it. But the experiment was never to produce another man like him, since the formula died with Dr. Erskine. The courier answers saying that upon General Phillips' advisement, Steve Rogers became the cornerstone of Project Super Soldier, handing the correspondent dossier to the President. He continues saying that under the supervision of General Phillips, Rogers was put into a special training program to teach him how to use his new body. For 3 months, he worked out with the greatest boxers, wrestlers, bodybuilders and gymnasts, and the time not spent in physical training was spent in learning military strategy and tactics. Finally, General Phillips gifts Steve with a uniform and shield specially designed to represent America and to inspire the public. Steve dons the uniform proudly and vows to stand for America's principles and to battle the forces of tyranny. A few days later, tipped by Army intelligence, Steve stops the kidnapping of an American colonel by Nazi spies. The colonel, impressed with the display of hand-to-hand combat, thanks Rogers now with the identity of Captain America. The next day, alarmed by the failure of their squad to report in, major Nazi band leaders meet in a secluded New York warehouse. Captain America crashes in the room and subdues all the American-born Nazis as the FBI comes into the scene relieved at the capture of the spies. The courier finishes saying that the information gathered in that raid dealt a severe blow to Nazi Fifth Column activities. The President, pleased with the documented feats of Captain America, asks to meet the famous super soldier, and in through the Oval Office doors walks Captain America, greeting the President with honor. They both trade pleasantries, with the President pointing out the alterations made to the Cap's uniform, and he gives the soldier a new shield, much lighter than his old one and with a new shape, made with metal with incredible properties, fruit of a metallurgical accident that can't be duplicated. The President orders Rogers with the second phase of Project Super Soldier, enabling him to move about in secret and giving him a new identity. It's July 1941, in Camp Lenig. Steve Rogers, now Private Rogers, adjusts to the routine of Army boot camp. He plays the part of a clumsy recruit and eventually meets Bucky Barnes, a young man who was adopted as camp mascot after his father died in basic training. Bucky looks up to Captain America, reading about his feats in the newspaper, not even suspecting that the captain stands right next to him.